As you know, we declared a state of local emergency on Monday, and we did that in preparation for any weather changes that would create serious issues in our city. It allowed us to be proactive, and it allowed us to mitigate any potential damage. There is another system that we are monitoring right now. So the really good news is the one that was supposed to affect us by today has subsided. So the one that we're monitoring right now is out in Kananaskis, and that's something that Calgarians need to remember. The weather that you're watching locally is significant, but there are also impacts to us from the west. That system is something that Water Resources is keeping an eye on, and something that's related to that one is the berm that we put in place on Memorial Drive. As you know, this berm was constructed in an 18-hour period, and it was intended to protect the residents in the neighboring communities on the Bow. That berm will stay in place until Sunday or Monday because we are watching this other system. Now, we understand that the berm is creating some traffic flow issues, so the good news, once again, is that we will be creating a couple of lanes of traffic, temporarily creating a division in the berm. That is something that can be quite easily put back together if there's flood mitigation that's needed through that berming process. So you will see a couple of lanes of traffic open up today. That work will proceed this morning. Now, the thing to remember about this berm is that it cost about $115,000 to construct, and it was done in 18 hours, as I mentioned. But it is protecting about $53 million worth of property. So it is a significant thing that was put up very quickly in an effort to be nimble and responsive to a situation that was being monitored.
The reason that we saw a much reduced flow in the river than what we had forecasted was primarily due to much of that precipitation showing up as snow rather than rain. So we do know that some of the latest updates has been that there is roughly 65 millimeters of rain that fell on Highwood Pass, just as one example of the amount of snow that fell in the mountains versus rain that would have flowed down the river. Now, that was good news for this first event. But as Mayor Gondek indicated, we are seeing a potential for a second event to materialize. And the importance here is that with the snow, we add more moisture within the catchment, within the watershed. We are also now dealing with a watershed where the ground is saturated with water, and therefore a smaller event will result in a more significant flow response from the river. We have been working with Environment and Climate Change Canada in terms of tracking that system, and some of our models show this system moving east and north and bypassing us all together. And we would love for that to be the outcome of this next system. But we do recognize that some of our models are showing that system wrapping around into the eastern slopes, just like the system that we observed this past week. The forecast at this point in time is between 50 and 100 millimeters of rain. And if we look at a midpoint at this point in time, just as an indicator of 70 millimeters of rain, that would result in an event that would see flows within the Bow River peaking at around 1,200 cubic meters per second. So very comparable to what we were forecasting early on during this event that we've just experienced. So I do want to stress that the risk is there, and therefore we're taking every precaution possible to ensure that we remain prepared and responsive to the events that we're seeing.